one can start with putting together the SOPs. So the idea here really is, you are working independently with a virtual assistant. So you're kind of like acting an employer,
Right.
and the virtual assistant is the subcontractor or the online employee, virtual employee. So technically, you can create your own workflow.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Loan Officer Growth Podcast. Have a special guest today, Gerard. How are you doing today?
Hey, Richard. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great evening here. It's 10:43 in the evening in the Philippines. So everything's going well for us. Thank you. How are you?
Nice. I'm good. If it was 10 p.m. for me, I'd be asleep.
Correct. But we're used to the graveyard shift. It's
Oh
the
yeah.
last, being a virtual assistant or in the virtual assistant industry. So,
Yep, definitely.
oh.
You get used to it, right? So, today we're going to talk about a question that keeps coming up over and over that I get asked, and I know you do too. That how do we manage, or how do I manage my virtual assistant? Because I don't have a whole lot of time because I'm really busy as a loan officer, whether that's prospecting, meeting with clients,
Mhm.
putting files together, things like that. And I don't have a ton of time. So we're going to answer that question, and we're going to kind of go through um, in detail the best ways that we have found to manage your virtual assistant. And it's kind of a threefold answer. First, there's one-off tasks, and we're going to talk about how to um, what program to use and how to manage them by just one-off tasks that you have daily. Second is building out your calendar for the virtual assistant so they have time blocks, so it's the same way week after week, day after day. And then third, standard operating procedures, as we like to call them, SOPs, to make sure things are done the same way every time and it's kind of automated for you as the loan officer. So cool. So the first one we're going to talk about is the one-off tasks.
Well, I guess, Richard, this principle also applies to, those who are hiring a virtual assistant the first time, because this is, one of the frequently asked questions that I got from, or that I get from mortgage lender clients, that somehow, since it's the first time, they really doesn't or don't know how to, navigate working with virtual assistants. And one of them is really on the managing side of it. And I guess, with a threefold answer, I guess, one can start with putting together the SOPs. So the idea here really is, you are working independently with a virtual assistant. So you're kind of like acting an employer,
Right.
and the virtual assistant is the subcontractor or the online employee, virtual employee. So technically, you can create your own workflow. You can find or ask for your mentors as to what's working and what's not. And this is where it could start. Like, for example, going back into the Thor's Hammer calls or realtor appointment setting calls, right? So what's going to be the SOP there? Like, we are being told that we need to call like on a daily basis on the first 5 days, if ever, the realtor doesn't really answer, right? So this is kind of like part of your plan and part of the SOP that the virtual assistant could normally follow and become a habit later on.
Right.
And what happens after the appointment has been set? So part of the SOP would be like, having the virtual assistant send an email or plot them into your calendar. And, for example, the meeting would be Monday next week, right? So you could create an SOP that the virtual assistant is expected to call days prior. Like, for example, if it's on a Tuesday, so they call on a Monday for a reminder and
Right.
send another email for reminders. So I guess, you could start there. And from creating that SOP, you can then do the time blocking for the virtual assistant. So here at Remote Assistant Scout, we normally recommend, for example, if we were to hire a full-time person, So we would normally recommend like 5 hours of calling and 3 hours of administrative or non-voice activities. So that would translate to like 3 hours calling in the morning, and as well as 2 hours calling late afternoon or right after or right 2 hours before their shift ends.
So kind of
So
break it up so they don't call all day long, right?
yes. So that's one way for you to manage a virtual assistant, and that they know exactly what they need to do on a daily basis, or they kind of like have a schedule. Like going back to the DSP, right? So floor summer callers are suggested to be done on a Monday, right? So on a Monday and on a Tuesday, that should be pre-approved buyers. And Wednesday, that could be past client databases, right? And Thursday could be the other leads that you have in your system or in your radar. So you can just set a time and day for them to just call them. So this is, something that you need to create for yourself or build for yourself. So the virtual assistant, when they plug in, it will be a lot easier for them. And this is also one way for you to evaluate. Because at the end of the day, I manage a virtual assistant, but what are the results? I mean, are they doing everything right? I mean, are they following my SOPs? So with this time blocks, with creating those SOPs, you can ensure that the virtual assistant is really working out for you. Even if it's remote.
Yep.
And the third one would be, online platforms like Asana. So you can just go to Asana, ASANA.com. So it's like, a responsibility or task assignment system wherein, you can just assign a task there to the VA, put a deadline, put all of the instructions there. And that is something that I need to pinpoint as well, because some clients, struggle in giving out clear instructions to the virtual assistant. So I guess this is something that some clients need to practice, because at the end of the day, you can just assign tasks in advance to the virtual assistant. Like, for example, you can work on a weekend on the assignments and assign tasks for the rest of the week for the virtual assistant via Asana, for as long as there would be clear instructions on there, and then it will be an easy plugin for the virtual assistant. And you're literally good to go all throughout the day.
Yep.
And another idea here, Richard, is that, the virtual assistant is, sort of like working as an actual employee to the client, right? And just like any other employee, they're expected to check in and check out with you. So
Right.
to check in, for example, if we are to hire full-time, right? And we're looking at 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. shift. So they're expected to check in with you at 8 a.m., sending you messages regardless as to, how you want to go about it. You can do Skype, you can do WhatsApp, Viber, Facebook Messenger, totally depending as to what's going to be more feasible for you. That could be an email, right? That could be a text message or iMessage, totally up to you. You're the employer now, so that's kind of like the idea. And they're also expected to making themselves available all throughout their shift. So this is one of the top expectations from the VA, that whenever you reach out to them in the middle of the day, they're kind of expected to respond to you on a timely manner.
Of course, yes.
But if they respond 3 hours or 4 hours later, so, that could be a red flag, given that they're just in front of their computer working. And the last thing would be the checkout process. So when they check out, virtual assistant, depending as to what's going to be your format, there's really no exact formula for this, but how we do it and how we suggest it to other clients is that, the virtual assistant is expected to send out, a checkout email along with all of the activities that they've done all throughout the day. So for example, if the virtual assistant is working on Thor's hammer or realtor appointment setting calls, so it is expected from them to, quantify the number of calls that's made be all throughout the day, the number of live calls, the number of appointments set, along with all of the details, the lead, and or the dead numbers. So that's just an example. So
Yep.
you have full authority as to how you want to go about it. So that's really part of, you know, the three folds, like, creating the SOPs, doing the time blocking, as well as, using the help of technology to make everything easier, like Asana.
Yep. I like that. And I'd like to elaborate on the time blocks that they do. It's good to put in a little flex time, because then that gives the VA time to do all their one-off tasks. And like you said, put that in between possibly like 2 time blocks of outbound calls, so they don't get burnt out making calls all day. They have a break to do other tasks and things. So yeah, that's a great point, Gerard.
Mhm. And also, I just want to add up on the technology. So, because sometimes, this is also one of the frequently asked questions. Like, how do I know that they're really working? So, you can actually opt to use the help of technology like timedoctor.com. However, what we recommend here is, basing everything on results.
Right.
So regardless of the number of hours that you guarantee of them, for as long as they provide you the right results as expected on a deadline, and then that's 100% fine. Because, for example, what if your or a client requirement is just 10 appointments per week, right? And
Yep.
what if during the first week, or during on the first day on a Monday, that has been accomplished by the BVA? So they might be, avail time for the rest of the day, or
Right.
for the next 2 hours. So it's all about the results at the end of the day.
Yep. That's what matters, results. So the SOPs, I'd like to add in here for everybody listening that if you go to remoteassistantscout.com, we will send you a bunch of sample SOPs that we have available. Some of them I personally use. Like you said, Gerard, there's SOPs on a realtor appointment, what happens before the appointment, what happens after the appointment. We have SOPs on social media, so it's a really nice checklist of everything that the VA can do for you. We have some SOPs for events, like teaching classes, if you teach classes to realtors. So we've got these SOPs we can share with you. If you go to remoteassistantscout.com and just sign up there, we'll send you out all the SOPs along with some other goodies.
So I
So,
guess that, yeah, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
So I guess those are really the answers to the frequently asked questions. So at the
Yep.
end of the day, you can create your own workflow. You have the full flexibility, the full authority as to how you want to go with your virtual assistant. Again, there's really no exact formula, for as long as the results are being delivered, and then you're good to go.
Right. And by getting that email first thing in the morning, the VA already knows what they're going to do, because think of it
Right.
this way. They have access to Asana, so they know what the one-off tasks are going to be. So they know what's priority. They know what the due date is for the task. If there's any attachments included with documents, things like that, everything is in that one place. They also know their time blocks. So they know they're going to make their calls from 8 or 9 a.m. to noon, and then they're going to do their flex time, and then they maybe have another call time block. And then the third thing is to have an SOP where they do the same thing every time when they're working on certain tasks. So it literally means that you don't have to manage in the respect of micromanage your virtual assistant, because you've built this out ahead of time, and it just gets done the same way every time, and then the results come, because that's, like you said, that's what matters, the results.
Mhm. And basically, you will learn along the way, like
Yep.
everybody.
Very true. Very true. Love it. Love it. So what if somebody on here wants to receive the SOPs, or maybe they have a question a further question on, will a VA work for you? Is that something that you're thinking about doing? What should the loan officer do, Gerard? How can
So
they
for any
contact you?
questions, we can book a discovery call with you or a virtual assistant strategy call. You can just go to remoteassistantscout.com and we'll take it from there. So rest
Love it.
assured that our team will be reaching out to you within 24 hours from signing up, and we can schedule and talk to you.
Love it, love it, love it. All right. Well, this was a nice, shorter podcast, but full of some really good information, I think, because I'll tell you, I remember years and years ago when I hired my first virtual assistant, I didn't have all this in place. So I really didn't know what to do, how to manage, how to build that relationship. So that was some really good information, Gerard.
Well, thank you so much for having me today, and rest assured that, after you sign up, our team can answer any questions that you may have for us, and, we can assist you along the way. So
Sounds good. Thank you, Gerard. Bye-bye.
thank you.